Do you remember when wearing braces meant ugly metal bands around your teeth? Well, we'll show you an alternative, hidden braces. We'll also give you some startling information on a hot-selling item, Uzi semi-automatic rifles. And we'll make another visit to Roach City to challenge the latest cockroach accommodations. We'll have all this and more on Fight Back. Hello, I'm David Horowitz. Thank you for being with us, and I see we're going to have a program that involves cockroaches. And you know, it's a big and competitive business nowadays to sell roach traps. Yes, roach traps, an item that their manufacturers claim everyone should have. Well, Eccles came out with a basic black roach trap. Raid was trying to be a little more attractive, so they came out with one with a wood grain finish. And Black Flag designed the Roach Motel. Now, because this competition was so fierce, last season we decided to challenge one roach trap against the other. We put them all in a little project of our own, and we called it Roach City. We then gathered 20 cockroaches, and our challenge began. The roaches went crazy. They couldn't wait to move in. When everyone was settled, the results were very close. Raid had the most crowded conditions with 8. Black Flag was a close second with 6, and Eccles had 5. One fellow went elsewhere. After our first challenge, we got an angry letter from a viewer who lives in Honolulu, Hawaii, who wishes to remain anonymous. Our viewer is mad that we did not include a roach trap called the Hoi Hoi in our original challenge. Now, he or she writes, quote, "I can guarantee you that Hoi Hoi will work not twice as good or 3 times as good as the other brands, but that it will work fully 5 times better than any other brand," end quote. Well, Anonymous, when we did our challenge, we didn't have a Hoi Hoi because we couldn't find one on the mainland. However, we now have one, and we accept your challenge. We'll revisit Roach City right after this. And here, folks, is the Hoi Hoi roach trap. Okay, Roach City has been completely rebuilt, allowing enough room for our newest addition. And it is now time for another Fight Back Roach Trap Challenge. We placed our roach accommodations in Roach City, just like we did on our first challenge. An Eccles roach trap, a Raid roach trap, and a Black Flag roach motel. Hoi Hoi, our new addition, was put right in the middle of it. It's clearly the most attractive in the neighborhood, don't you think? It has a designer red tile roof, a picket fence, flowers, and even a seductive roach to lure even the most reluctant. Is everybody ready? Here come our potential tenants now. And now for the results. Last year's winner, Raid, caught 6 cockroaches. Black Flag managed to accommodate 7, and Eccles trapped 8. Now, in order for the prediction of our anonymous viewer to come true, Hoy Hoy must trap 5 times as many cockroaches as Eccles. That's 40 roaches, folks. But the sad truth is that Hoy Hoy tied with Eccles, also trapping 8 roaches. So while it is true that Hoy Hoy tied for the lead, we must conclude that our viewer's prediction was a bit exaggerated. And so, anonymous viewer, whoever you might be, thank you for your letter. And if we knew who you were, we'd send you a Fight Back t-shirt. Now to something a lot more serious. When the paramedic system was first devised, it was considered a boon to the medical profession. But is it being abused by the people it's supposed to help? The paramedic system was designed to save lives, to get emergency help to people who might otherwise die before they can get to a hospital. But now the demands being made on that system have gotten out of hand. And sometime soon, the paramedics may not be there when they're really needed. This is a problem in many cities. We examined it in one, Los Angeles. 25% of the calls for paramedics are for heart attacks. Another 10% are for serious injuries and illness. The remaining 65% don't really need the paramedics at all.
They'll call us for cut fingers sometimes, opening up a can, and they're out of Band-Aids. Sometimes people call us because they have a bad cold and are having trouble breathing. People will call us because they have gone to the emergency hospital and maybe they've had to wait a couple hours, so they feel if they come in with the rescue ambulance that they will get immediate service.
The Band-Aid calls, you might call them, or the non-emergency, non-paramedic calls are overwhelming.
Even so, the situation would be far worse if experienced dispatchers weren't able to screen out at least half of the calls for help as they come in.
Do you have a friend who could take you to the hospital? Anybody at home with you? Okay, hey, do you have a pencil? Okay, call back the operator and ask her for Goodhue Ambulance. They'll come and take you to the hospital.
Engine Rescue 60, respond to a reported heart attack, 5105.
Still, when someone's life even might be in danger, the paramedics roll out.
What we're basically for is life-threatening situations where someone's having coronary, someone has been shot, bleeding to death internally, or has a severe fracture, or severely ill. Screening calls on the phone is almost impossible without seeing the patient. So that's one thing I'm really afraid of with this program, is that people that are very conscientious citizens and do not wish to abuse the system will not call us when they really need us.
We're also concerned that because of this story, people who need a paramedic might hesitate to call in an emergency. If it is a life-threatening emergency, don't hesitate. Call the paramedics. But don't call if it's obviously something minor or if you just need transportation. Try to get to your doctor or an emergency room by yourself or have someone else take you. You'll not only save the paramedics an unnecessary trip, you may be saving somebody else's life. And now we go over to our consumer horror file. And here's a letter from Helen Giacomo, who lives in Orangeville, California, about an ad that she finds confusing. Now let's take a look at the ad. As you can see, this ad offers Philippe Lafrance solid copper cookware for a limited time only for what seems to be an unbelievably low price, only $29.95. Now, Helen doesn't believe that you could buy everything pictured in this ad for such a low price, and upon closer examination, she found the catch in the ad. If you notice, right next to that low $29.95 price, there are 2 little stars. When you look to find out what those stars point out, you find that what you really get for $29.95 is, quote, a special discount offer toward the purchase of the set of solid copper cookware pictured below and 4 selected items worth $65, unquote. In other words, you don't get all of this for $29.95. You only get 4 items plus a discount certificate. I quote the small print because when you look at it, it is so hard to read that you're likely to overlook it. This ad is a good example of why you should always read that fine print very carefully. With this ad, you could easily be mistaken into believing that you get everything you see for $29.95. Now, there's nothing illegal about the ad, but I feel they should have made it plainer that what you see is not what you really get. We're going to give you some surprising statistics about the sale of the Uzi semi-automatic rifles coming up right after these commercials. Anyway, here's our own horror I want to ask a question here. How many of you have worn braces? You know this is a setup, right? Now the question is, first of all, let me have your name.
Linda King,
Where are you from, Linda?
Anchorage, Alaska.
Did you ever try to hide your braces?
Yeah, I used to keep my lips down.
You were a little embarrassed to have them on.
Yeah.
How about you? What's your name?
Ann Thomas,
Where are you from, Ann?
Detroit, Michigan.
And what did you do to conceal your braces?
Well, when they take my picture, I'd try to smile without showing my teeth. I'd go,
You're not alone, because a lot of people who really need orthodontic treatment avoid the whole idea, not because they can't afford it or because they're afraid of dentists, but because they don't want the kind of metal braces that show when they open their mouths. Now, for those people, there are braces that don't show, hidden braces. Hidden braces have been available from a few orthodontists for several years, but it's been only in the last year or so that word of them began to really get around and people began asking about them. One reason so few people knew about hidden braces, of course, is that the appliances are designed to go unnoticed. The braces themselves are hidden behind the front teeth, cemented to the back of the teeth, and anchored on conventional metal bands around the molars in back, where they won't show. The key is being able to attach the band to each tooth without putting a band all the way around each one. Hidden braces can be expensive, usually half again as much as conventional bands. The overall treatment takes longer, and each visit to the orthodontist lasts 2 or 3 times as long as it would with ordinary braces. But for some people, it's worth the extra time and money.
We have a number of people who are involved in stage work or television work or other forms of theatrical activities. And then there are just those individuals who feel psychologically that they cannot cope with having appliances on the outside of their teeth.
If I'd had to have the full banded metal braces in my mouth, I probably would have let it go the rest of my life and would never have had them put on. I wore braces when I was a teenager, the full banded kind, and I have bad memories of them. And I couldn't go through the same sort of thing again. With these braces, I don't feel like I have braces on at all.
Jan Dames had such a severe overbite, she could not bite through food with her front teeth. Her jaw was painfully misaligned. Yet in spite of that, in spite of everything her dentist and her physician told her, Jan Dames would probably have lived the rest of her life that way if these hidden appliances were not available. As they become more available in the future, as more orthodontists become familiar with the technique, more people will seek out the treatment they need to enhance their appearance and their health. You know, I'm just like everyone else. I'm constantly scanning the newspaper to find sales. Well, the other day, I was amazed to come across this ad. A big sale on an Uzi semi-automatic rifle. Normally sells for $699, now on sale for the bargain price of $469. My first thought was, who would want to buy a military-type weapon like an Uzi? This is the Uzi, a 9mm semi-automatic military assault weapon. I went to the gun shop that advertised the Uzi for $469 to ask who would buy such a weapon.
We sell them to people from all walks of life, individuals who want the gun, obviously because of its military heritage, individuals who want it for home protection. It's an excellent survival weapon if you, say, want to carry it in an airplane or a boat, and individuals looking for an investment.
How many of these do you sell?
Okay, on the average, we sell between 100 and 150 a month.
Do you find it at all scary that so many people are buying these semi-automatic weapons, which are basically combat weapons?
Not necessarily. I think that the individuals, at least from our experience, who are buying these weapons would represent, I guess, what you would say the responsible element of society. Obviously, there are people buying them who should probably not have the weapons.
Why has the Uzi become such a popular weapon?
There are several publications that are geared specifically to people who use guns, stressing the good points of owning one. Also, they're, again, a military weapon used extensively in Israel. People see that on the newsreels all the time. We saw a slight increase in sales when the attempted assassination on President Reagan because the Secret Service agent was standing there with an Uzi in his hand. So I guess it's that glamorous appeal to people to have something that they know is a military-type weapon.
Is an Uzi a hard sell?
Not for us, no. We are usually out of stock on them.
Why are so many people buying military weapons? Just what is the appeal of owning a gun like an Uzi? Is it for the thrill of blasting away at a target? I went to a rifle range to get some instruction.
Okay, just keep your hand on it, keep your finger off the trigger, I'll put it back on safe, and what you do is you just depress that button and then keep it on fire.
Okay. Kind of frightening to have this kind of a feeling in your hands because you're basically shooting at a target that's shaped like a person. Now, as you heard Bill Perry say, he sells 150 Uzis a month, and they can't keep them in stock. We checked around to see if this was the same story nationwide, and we found that this gun, referred to in the industry as a tactical assault weapon, is selling at the rate of between 10 and 150 a month at gun stores across the country. Now, this is perfectly legal, and the only qualms the police have about such weapons are that they are constantly turning up in the stolen weapons departments at the police department. If a thief finds out a person owns one, that person could be a mark for a robbery, and the weapon could end up in the hands of the wrong person. We all know that the sale of these military weapons is a sign of the times. We seem to be living in a violent society, and we're all looking for ways to protect ourselves. But is this the way to fight back? We went out on the street to get some opinions from you.
I mean, I think it's okay if they're not being used to kill people, you know?
It doesn't seem like you would use something like that for target shooting. Target shooting is not a spray thing, it's precision.
Those guns are not for hunting, so they destroy people with. And I don't agree with anything to destroy people, any type of a nature, any type.
I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible that we reach a point in this society where we have to resort to that kind of stuff.
Well, I tell you, with the crime rate, what it is, I think everybody should have one of them.
Well, if it's protecting your own property, I think that's good, but just let anyone go and buy them, I don't think that's right.
If you need something for your own protection, get a handgun or a shotgun or something. You don't need a machine gun or a tank or a nuclear bomb to protect yourself.
Well, I'm from Zimbabwe. I've been through a civil war, so I know what kind of damage those things do.
It frightens me that they sell so many guns like this over the counter.
Hey, everybody's got a right to protect themselves.
What do you think? We'll be right back after this. And we have another entry for our Fight Back Label Hall of Fame. This is the award that we give to manufacturers who give us confusing labels. Well, here's another one sent to us by Tracy Rand, who lives in Phoenix, Arizona. She says, take a close look at this label for Spice Rack Salt and Sugar-Free Seasoned Salt. Well, let that one go by because the phrase seasoned salt has become a generic name for a number of herb blends. But Tracy goes on in her letter to point out that although it says salt and sugar-free on the front label, if you look at the list of ingredients, you will find that the first ingredient is salt and the fifth ingredient is sugar. She wants us to explain this very confusing label. Well, Tracy, we called Rosam Industries, the makers of Spice Rack in West Babylon, New York, and asked for an explanation. They told us that they've been having a lot of trouble with the company that makes their labels. It turns out that the printer has been using their salt and sugar-free printing plate on some of their other products. Rosam Industries is sorry for the confusion and has changed its labels. Here's the new label. It still says seasoned salt, but they have eliminated the confusing words salt and sugar-free. It now looks like our copy of the old label is a collector's item, and it still qualifies for the Fight Back Label Hall of Fame. There you have it. And if you have any entries for our Fight Back Label Hall of Fame, or if you'd like a commercial challenge, or you have fought back and won, here's where to write. Fight Back, Burbank, California, 91523 is our zip code. And of course, if we use your letter on the air, we'll send you a Fight Back t-shirt. And remember, stay aware and informed and fight back, and don't let anyone rip you off. And here's our prevent all these labels.